Okay, I had to restart the recording. This didn't really go very well the first time. OBS was sort of left in streaming mode, so it was going a bit crazy. We're descending now on the Tulsi-free Alpha arrival to Innsbruck Airport. We're just going past Munich here on the left. That's Munich's big airport there. And we'll be flying through the Achensee Valley towards the Zillertal. Today I'm doing something different. I spent a bit of time at Innsbruck Airport kind of finding out what goes on, and also if there's any pilot training that you can do there. And there is, funnily enough. There's an airport, you can learn how to be a pilot there. But a few things kind of came up and I was quite interested to find out some more. So I've now discovered, in my little researches, an extra document about a particular procedure that you need to have under your belt when you want to fly at Innsbruck in certain weather conditions. So to fly at Innsbruck in the best of times, most people, you need to do a special type rating, kind of, especially for the airlines. It's not so much important for the small planes, but to fly an airliner into Innsbruck, you need a special approval. In addition to that, if you fly to Innsbruck in certain weather conditions known as Föhn, which is a particularly strong wind, typically from the south, you also need a Föhn approval, which is a separate kind of check ride. Now, there's a few Föhn routes that are recommended. One of them is the typical Arnav West approach, which is as you just come in over the western side in the valley and just do the standard Arnav approach, so that's fine. The other approach is the localizer R, coming from the east. You fly down the localizer, but you're supposed to fly at 2,000 to 4,000 feet higher than the normal published altitudes, and then you make a visual right turn onto final. That's the one I've done a few times in my videos. You've also got the Kutai version, which is not quite actually the same thing. That's just a special localizer approach. And this is a final variant, which I didn't know existed because it's not published anywhere. It's only approved for pilots familiar with Innsbruck, pretty much who live here. And it's published in the Föhn in Best Practices PDF, which is basically how to approach Innsbruck in nasty weather, written by pilots from Innsbruck who know what they're doing. There's a few A320 pilots in there, a few private pilots, and it's basically quite a few contributors to this. But essentially there is a like kind of extra approach that's a visual procedure, where basically what you do is you fly along the northern side of the valley, hugging the mountains as closely as possible, because the wind effects are distributed more evenly over the Nordkette, as it's called, than they are if you fly down the main bulk of the valley. That's where the wind can be really nasty. And basically you're trying to avoid staying in the turbulent regions, which can be more deep in the valley. You stay as high as possible to be in what's called the slipstreams. The slipstreams are basically more stable air conditions. We stay up high. We follow the Nordkette, and we plan to be about 9,000 feet above sea level by this point called Seegrube, which is a cable car station that takes tourists up to the top of the Nordkette, so you get a nice view of Innsbruck. And today my plane will also be something that they will see. So yeah, essentially we're going to be doing that approach, flying at, basically aiming to get at that point at around 9,000 feet. So after Rattenburg, what we'll do is we'll actually switch over to visual flying, and that will basically mean that we can descend all the way down to 9,000 feet by the time we get to this Seegrube point. At Seegrube, what we do is we turn left to cross the entirety of the Inn Valley. While we're doing that, we have a few miles where we can basically drop like a stone, I suppose. We need to be down at 3,700 for the rest of the approach. So the goal there is basically to get from 9,000 all the way down. Luckily, it is a kind of 5 miles or so, so there is space. It might be tight. I might be ending up flying that thing with the flaps and everything all hanging out, but we'll see if it works. It's certainly a procedure for private jets. It's certainly possible. In small planes, I'm not so sure about the Airbus, but that's why we're doing it in a simulator and not in reality, because I don't think anyone would let me do this for real. We're still kind of, oh, there we go, catching it there. It's micro, it's quite sensitive, this VNAV, but there you can see the it's attempting to kind of capture stuff. We're going a bit too fast though, so I might actually take over the descent at some point soon. So after, maybe now, I'm going to start asking it to bring the speed back down. Maybe I should put a speed restriction for the descent. Performance, descent. maybe we should activate approach phase. So if I activate approach phase now, that's going to bring us all the way down. So we're now entering over Achensee. This is the Achensee here. We're flying along this valley. Here's the Zillertal straight ahead. We've got Hochfugen and Meyerhofen is over here. We've got some more mountains there too. Looks like the snow has finally left some parts of Austria, which is actually finally accurate. You know, this has not typically been accurate for the last months. We're using live weather, so yeah, that's actually quite good. I have a feeling there will still be snow at Innsbruck though, which is unfortunate and annoying, but that's life. So what we may well do now, we're trying to reduce our speed down to kind of our flaps 1 speed. We're coming in over the mountains. You can see there's a little bit of bounciness coming, but it's not much. We're not flying this approach in actual Föhn conditions, we're just practicing it. So I'm just going to pop the charts up. So no charts? Okay. No charts then. Oh, hold on, wait, how do we do this? There it is, right, it's coming up now. Okay, so what we're basically doing is we're coming into Rattenburg now. We're coming in from roughly here, straight down here. We're going to then hug the north side here. So we're not going to fly the localizer, we're going to hug the north side. And about here is where Seegruber is. We're then going to turn left, turn right, and then turn around. We don't have much space, but we're going to try it. Could be fun. Could be an absolute disaster. Okay, so reducing now down. Actually going to put 9,000 in already, and from Rattenburg we're actually going to visually fly. So by visually I mean I will be controlling the heading, but not much else. And the altitude as well. Okay, there we go, 220 knots, this is flaps 1, so you're flying with kind of intermediate slat speed. At least for this initial approach. So at least we got the speed kind of under control by the time we get to Seegruber. The last thing we kind of want is to be arriving in Seegruber at 400 knots with absolutely no control of our speed. Now this is the thing that annoys me about this. This here is Wilde Kaiser ski area, ski world, and it is still currently covered in snow, but now it's not. Meanwhile the rest of Innsbruck is completely covered in snow, whereas in reality, no it's not. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right, now we're reaching our altitude constraint now there, so I'm going to actually apply the heading and start us down on an open descent, basically down. We're going to now turn all the way to the right, so we start following the Inn Valley. Maybe 270 degrees. Innsbruck traffic, Alpine 45 X-ray Lima, flight level 150 Rattenburg, flying visual Nordkette Föhn approach, circle to land 08. Right, so that's enough of that. So we're basically now going to hold these mountains in high regard for a bit. So it's not such a stable approach. We've got the speed brake still out. Actually, we can reduce that now and let the plane kind of do its own thing. I'm going to put the everything on because this is the point where we would have a lot of turbulence in reality. And the cabin can be warmed. Now, there was a British Airways chap who departed about 2 minutes before me who's doing the RNAV approach from the other direction. So just going to have a look and see where he is. So let's see if you can see that there. There we go. So this is me coming in. Alpine 45 X-ray Lima, EasyJet Europe. And then we've got this guy here who's already on short final, so that's okay. He will be no factor unless he does a go around, in which case big boo-boo. So we can get rid of that. And we're going to hug this north line here. And essentially Innsbruck, kind of the river here, is going to go to the north-south, and basically when it does that, that's when we're going to turn left. We want to put our gear down abeam Seegruber and then do a big left turn and descend to below 9,000 feet. So 3,700 is the goal. Now that descent rate may well be horrific. We will have to see. There's not so much space in that valley to descend from 9,000 to 3,700 in such a short time, but it should be entirely possible. Let me just see if I've got that there. So, if the ATIS announces glider area active, this must be avoided. The intention of this visual approach is to fly close to the northern mountain range and stay as high as possible for less turbulence. Descend so as to reach a position of beam sea Gruber at 9,000 meters above sea level. Above mean sea level. Select gear down at intermediate flaps. Turn left to cross the in-valley. Overfly the airport and continue to Axams, descending to 3,700. Strong turbulence may be encountered whilst crossing the valley until south of the field. Passing Axams, complete final landing configuration, turn right onto runway 08. Expect turbulence and wind shear. Aware of possible downdrafts when crossing the river in on short final. PAPI is available and shows 3.5 degrees descent angle. Always follow the PAPI precisely at the given angle. Aim for touchdown at the 300 meter TDP marking, which equals the intersection at taxiway A. In case of touchdown after this point, expect much more unstable wind conditions and wind shear, more variable wind direction and a very strong firn even with winds from the north. ATC will provide you with regular threshold wind readings during final approach. If your skills allow you, one short view on medium final to the TD windsock as well as to the main windsock at the midpoint will give you a good optical picture of the wind directions or possible wind shears during landing. Use the speed increments according to your company or aircraft manufacturer. In case of an aircraft wind shear warning system, follow the policy given by the company. Right, there we go. We're descending now to 9,000 feet. I'm going to whack us over a little bit more so we've got more space. It is going to be a very much mountain-hugging approach. Which is the whole point of the thing. I'm going to reduce now down to the next flap speed. Auto brake medium for Innsbruck, always the case, it's too short otherwise, it's only 2,000 metres exactly. We'll be landing flaps full, the minimums are 3,700 and we're now going to convert over to our appropriate altimeter setting. So we're now hugging the North Mountains basically, the normal localizer track will be somewhere over here. And we're basically going to be flying it a little bit more extremely. So Sigruber is somewhere there, so I'm just going to kind of vaguely point it here. We're just actually overflying the Hundskopf right now. This is this mountain here, and the Bettelwurf and so on. So as a passenger in my plane today, this would be your view. Probably slightly horrifying actually. But that's okay, you know, they're made to look after it. Let's do 160 knots for now. Oh look, the VNAV increments are coming up there. Actually, yeah, let's set flap free speed and just keep it like that. So we're now looking for Sigruber on the right hand side. I'm going to keep a little bit more to the right so we kind of head towards it. So we've got all of the space. The runway's in sight. Visual conditions are perfectly adequate. Let's look out for any aircraft on final. Anyone there? Looks like not. Let me just check if that guy's done anything silly. He has indeed. I don't know what he's doing. Anyway, I can't see him, so I don't mind. Innsbruck traffic, Alpine 45, X-ray Lima, beam Sigruber, turning left onto circle approach 08. Just warning them I'm not actually a beam Sigruber yet, but that's in there. So this is Sigruber, these buildings, and this is Havelaka, that's the main mountain where you can actually go up with a cable car, get a view of Innsbruck, so I'm basically giving them the free ticket. And then we've got to go from there to there and lose 6,000 feet. 5,000 feet roughly, so let's say it's going to be steep. So the gear comes down now at Sigruber. I'm starting the descent a little bit early, but that's okay. We're also going to put out full speed brake because we need to descend rapidly. I just want to make sure. So now we're kind of coming in over. We've still got visual separation to the mountains, so 9,000 feet is fine. Let's turn left by 10 degrees. 2,000 feet per minute. That's a perfectly nice descent rate. Actually, I could reduce that there. Okay, now we're crossing Seegruber completely. I'm going to go heading 200. Feet per minute. That looks like that's going to not quite be enough. Let's put more speed brake in. I want to bring that blue guy a bit closer. So now heading towards Gutzens. We've got Muttlerer Alm just ahead of us now. Fully configured for landing. We've still got the speed brakes out and we've still got an extra layer of flaps in. And we're just going below 6,000 feet now, expecting the turbulence over here if it was really a Föhn day, but it's actually unfortunately not. That descent there looks okay for now. 1,800 feet per minute. We could demand more from the aircraft, but we want to be stable for the approach, so we're not going to. Okay, so basically overhead Axam's Church, that's where we want to be at 3,700, so I'm just going to now configure the final flap layer, turn us right to 230 right now. Innsbruck traffic Alpine 55 X-ray Lima, downwind, circle 08 approach. 230, we're 5,000 feet, which is adequate, that's perfectly good enough. We're aiming for 3,700 by the time we get to the final approach point there. So I'm going to use a heading of 260 degrees. Back in the cockpit, have a look around. I'm going to be flying this with my left hand for the first time. We're now completely abeam the threshold, fully configured for landing. The speed brakes now need to be set back to arm. We've got another 1,000 feet to go, and then we're going to be at 3,700 over the church, hopefully. Looks like we're fully configured, everything's going well. Seefeld here, we've got the nice big steep road up to there. This is the Kutai Valley, Sellereintal, and then we've got the Orangekupfel here. So actually I can now reduce this vertical speed to about 500 feet per minute since we're coming in. There we go, perfectly set up for the landing now.
1,000.
So we've got our 3,700 minimum safe altitude above this plateau here, and basically just after the Axam's Church, we are already configured for landing, but we're going to fly a little bit extra visually, because I've been doing this approach a couple of times in the last days, and it's always been a little bit too high on short finals, so I'm going to fly it just a little bit further, so just kind of following the terrain around. And I can't go below 3,700 until I start making that right turn, so part of the parcel. So I'm going to start now, bank angle 20 to 30 degrees as required.
Minimum.
Continue. Basically, kind of use the terrain. Here we go, this is fine.
500.
Maybe a bit close.
500.
That's okay, that seems fine.
1,000.
Innsbruck traffic Alpine 545 Lima X-ray short final runway 08. Okay, just rolling out of that now. Spot on. So it's a 3.5 degree glide path. We've got an approach speed of 143 knots for some reason, which is a little bit mad, but probably about 1,000 feet per minute then. So I'm just now pointing the plane a bit further downwards. I can see vaguely the pappies, but because it's snowy I can't tell what colour they are, which is not so good, but I've got a visual picture of the runway and that's what I'm working off. So I'm now aiming for just before that touchdown point actually. If the wheels touch down, like it said in the NOTAM there, if we touch down after that taxiway, there's the possibility of more intense wind shear. So looking good so far.
300.
Everything's on. We've got the auto brake set to medium. We're kind of lining up. There we go. Just wish those trees weren't there.
100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5.
Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
Fucked that up, didn't I? Touchdown zone. Overflared it. Innsbruck traffic Alpine 45 X-ray Lima going around. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do another visual approach. We're going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to turn left and we're going to turn right 4,000 feet roughly. We're going to do another visual circle to land approach now. Let's pretend ATC has permitted it. "25-degree bank handle coming around to the right, scared the bejeebies out of the passengers." And now that approach was too fast and basically something's not up with it. Let's reactivate the approach phase, confirm that there. Okay, VAP is 133 knots. So I'm now kind of coming in at the right place there, don't want to be descending too much.
2,500.
Great. Okay, we've still got flaps full, we've got nothing else to do, we just need to kind of do that approach again. And Johnny, next time, don't flare so much. Don't go for smooth landings at Innsbruck. This is why. Because you end up doing go-arounds instead. And I now have to pay them €12, well, probably a lot more for an Airbus, but something around €12 for the landing fee. As each time you go around and your wheels touch ground, that counts as a landing, and then you have to pay a landing fee. Oh no. So, cabin check. Quick go-around procedure, really. Visual. Nice. I mean, normally, if it was traffic, you'd have to go all the way to the holding fix and then hold until traffic permitted a second attempt. Okay, I'm going to actually turn off the flight director. Let's descend down to 37. Oh, shush. Gear coming down, and we'll put the speed back to the aircraft there. Okay, 43, 42. Wings looking level. Airport is just on the right hand side there, we've just gone past the threshold. There you go, that's what the view looks like to a passenger. Still descending, we want to keep descending down. I'm actually going to start this, maybe not a bit too early. Innsbruck traffic, Alpine 5 Lima X-ray, downwind 08.
100 above.
3,700. There we go, now we're going to look right. I'm going to aim for some visual points, I'm not sure which though. Continue. Don't descend below that now. Good, right. It's going to give us a bit of that. Let's try and get 700, 800 feet per minute. There we go, we'll hold it about that. Aiming through this valley here. Go, runway in sight. Looks good for a landing. There you go, unscare the passengers now. Still
1000.
continuing round. Innsbruck traffic Alpine 45 X-ray Lima final, runway 08, short final. Okay, here we go. Keep it going down. Okay, no nonsense this time, just get it down on the runway.
$400. $300. $200.
That's good. Right, there we go. Don't get scared now.
100.
Good.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5.
Touchdown, round mark. Reverse the screen. Decel. No, the auto brake's disengaged, right? Manual braking then. Disengage all that and just brake ourselves off the runway. So there's two approaches that you've got to see. Away with those Innsbruck traffic Alpine 45 X-ray Lima vacating 08. I said vacating because I haven't crossed the marker yet there. Yeah, hello. Why is the plane not going anywhere? Yeah, the parking brake is still off. We're in a weird little terrain dip, aren't we? Toe brake stuck on. Of all the things. I'm literally holding the toe brake button. Okay, let's go next left here. Need to check if that's a toggle setting or what's going on with that. Now if you look, you can see it's stuck on. There we go, right, set up there, control, period. Parking brake, no, on, not off. Engines off, those ones. There you go, let's connect all this stuff up. Right. Interesting, two approaches there. One coming from up there, turning across, making my way down. It worked out okay. The final approach wasn't quite stable enough, or at least the flare was bad, basically. I flared way too aggressively, floated it, and then couldn't get the wheels down within the touchdown zone. Second approach, much more progressive flare. Touchdown probably hard. So let's have a look at what's going on there. So, what does it say? Is there 2 touchdowns or is there only 1? There are 2 touchdowns. The first one was 298, which is the one we just did. The first one was 158, but it was almost more than halfway down. Well, actually, it was well beyond the touchdown zone. 298 feet per minute was just before taxiway alpha, which is where it was supposed to be. It's a hard landing, but it's a guaranteed one. So let's just have a look at the flight paths here. Let's capture Volanta, have a look. So here we go. So this is the flight now here. Fly from London across to Munich and then down. The first approach we came in here and then did a pretty rapid descent across the valley. Still made it to all the altitudes on time and then circled around and landed. Landed badly, way too far down the runway, so went around. We then turned left off, we followed the river round, we did another right turn to rejoin the circuit, and then again did another right turn onto final and landed much, much harder, but in the right place, at the right speed. I mean, at least we could land to the point where we actually could stop before the end of the runway. Yes, very nice. Good. Hope everyone had a fun time watching that nonsense. 31 minutes of it, wow, okay. Whoa.